groceries up the steps, or get down on the floor to play with your kids without pain. Fitness isn't just about how you look, it's about how you live now and for the decades to come. Today, we're talking about functional fitness, mobility, and longevity, the kind of training that doesn't just change your body, but changes your future. Because the truth is, strength and flexibility aren't just for athletes, they're the foundation for independence, energy, and freedom at every age. We'll break down why mobility is your secret weapon against injury, how Zone 2 cardio literally rewires your cells for energy, and why lifting weights is medicine for your muscles, bones, and even your brain. Welcome back to Mindset, Health, and Empowerment, the Unfiltered Trainer podcast. I'm your host, Gina, aka Gina Marie Fit. And if you've been here for a while, you know this is where we strip away the fluff and talk real about what it takes to create a strong, aligned, and unstoppable life. Whether you're here to improve your health, reclaim your energy, or simply build a body that lets you fully live, you're in the right place. So let's talk about the real meaning of functional fitness. What functional fitness actually means is that it's rooted in movement patterns. Squatting, hinging, pushing, pulling, carrying, rotating. The same things you do every single day. Research shows that training with these compound patterns improves coordination and neuromuscular efficiency far more than isolation-only exercises. Example, a barbell squat mimics sitting down and standing up, while a farmer's carry mimics carrying your groceries. Both build real-world resilience, which we all need. Studies like the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research show that functional training improves your balance, improves your power, and improves your endurance simultaneously. So why is there this emphasis on aesthetics-only training? And let's be honest, why it falls short. Training solely for looks often leads to muscular imbalances, overdeveloping certain parts of your body while neglecting your stabilizers. Example, when you're only focusing on your chest or your biceps without back, postural muscles end up equaling shoulder pain, which eventually means that you'll strain your neck. Aesthetics can't protect you from falls, low bone density, or decreased mobility as you age. Looks are temporary, but function sustains independence, freedom, and your health span. Now, I want you to think of this like the everyday athlete mindset. You may not compete, but you're an everyday athlete because life requires strength, agility, and stamina, like climbing stairs, lifting luggage, or keeping up with your children. Training like an athlete, but scaled to your level, increases readiness for daily challenges. Functional training it can actually reduce your injury risk by improving your joint stability and proprioception, which is your body's awareness of where it is in space. Think of it as training for life's demands, not just gym performance. Now, here's the key component. Mobility and flexibility can become your secret weapons. There's a little difference here though. Mobility versus flexibility. Flexibility is the ability of your muscles to lengthen, while mobility is the ability to move a joint through its range of motion under control. Research shows that mobility has stronger correlations to performance and injury prevention rather than just flexibility alone. Example, a dancer may be flexible, but without mobility, they can't stabilize in those deep ranges of motion. Back in 2020, there was a systemic review that found limited mobility is strongly linked to higher injury risk in athletes and older adults alike. So why does mobility matter for longevity? The aging process reduces joint range of motion naturally just due to cartilage loss, stiff connective tissue, and decreased synovial fluid. Poor mobility actually leads to a higher fall risk. The CDC notes that falls are the leading cause of injury-related deaths and those in the aging population 65 or older. Regular mobility training maintains posture, circulation, and nervous system function. It also helps prevent chronic issues like low back pain, one of the top global causes of disability from the World Health Organization. Practical mobility rituals that you can participate in. When you wake up in the morning, 3 to 5 minutes of movement like cat-cows, hip circles, thoracic rotations, and then pre-workout, always a dynamic warm-up. Leg swings, inchworms, banded shoulder openers. things that are actually going to increase the blood flow to the muscles that you're intentionally about to work. Now, post-workout, this is key, and I'm always harping in my classes about this, is that static stretches and foam rolling actually can improve your recovery, and you shouldn't just walk out of the gym cold if you really want to get the most out of every single workout. Research has proven that 10 to 15 minutes of daily mobility practices help significantly in your gait and functional capacity over time. Now, when we think about the grand scheme of things, we have to think about longevity training, zone 2, and strength training. The science of zone 2 cardio breaks down to this. Zone 2 is moderate effort, 60 to 70% of your max heart rate when you can talk, but you're not capable of singing. It trains your mitochondria, which is your power plants of your cells. It makes your body more efficient at producing energy. And there's a doctor, Peter Attia, I hope I'm saying that right, Attia, who has proven that numerous longevity researchers like himself emphasize zone 2 as the functional foundation for cardiovascular and metabolic health. The benefits as a result of that improve insulin sensitivity, fat oxidation, and it lowers your resting heart rate. Now, strength training as longevity medicine. Muscle mass is one of the strongest predictors of all-cause mortality. So more muscle equals a lower risk of early death. Sarcopenia is what is called muscle loss, and it starts as early as 30. But once you've hit 60, most adults lose 1 to 2% of their muscle per year if they're not active. So strength training also improves bone mineral density, it reduces fracture risk, and also when you think beyond just the physical aesthetics, studies actually show that resistance training improves your cognition and your mood by increasing your brain-derived neurotropic factor. So, why both strength training and cardio become essential, right? Cardio trains your engine. Think of it like your heart, your lungs, your mitochondria. Well, strength training trains your actual frame, your muscles, your bones, and your joints. Back in 2022, there was a meta-analysis that showed those who do both strength and cardio training reduce their mortality rate by up to 40% compared to sedentary individuals. So strength actually supports your longevity by keeping you capable, and cardio supports your longevity by keeping you alive. Together, they form the ultimate blueprint for thriving across decades. Now, we have to be mindful that with life and responsibilities and stress and everything in between, workouts have to align with our everyday life. Now, this is something that 20-year-old Gina would have never admitted to, but 30-plus-year-old Gina has learned, is that simplicity is key. You don't need to do 90-minute gym sessions that are super intense every single day. Studies are continuing to improve the factors of moderate exercises as you're aging, which actually still benefits reducing your mortality risk significantly. So when you focus on good compound movements like squats, deadlifts, push-ups, pull-ups, loaded carries 2 to 3 times a week, plus getting into that zone 2 cardio 2 to 3 times a week, that is optimal for your baseline for your health. The World Health Organization actually recommends 150 minutes a week of moderate activity and 2 strength training sessions for those who are accessible, which makes it honestly pretty good for most people when you think about it. Now, we have to be mindful about accessible tools. If you don't have a lot of equipment, you can do a lot with just your body. Push-ups, lunges, planks, those build real strength. You can even go as simple as a resistance band and load the joint, but in a friendly period and in a friendly frame of range of motion. Now, if you do have access to equipment, dumbbells and kettlebells are versatile and they're space efficient. Walking, hiking, biking, functional to cardio, also can be hit while benefiting your mental health. When you take it to nature, you reduce your stress, and it's been proven that you sleep better. So when you start to think about this, it does seem pretty simple, right? But we all know how life is, and we have to adapt for the seasons we are in. I know a lot of my friends are parents, and so you may not think about it, but fitness can break down to literally carrying your children, piggyback rides, doing stroller walks. Like, you are pushing your child, and there is weight to that. I do a lot with older aging members of our population, and we do a lot with balance. We do a lot of step ups, single leg movements. We do a lot of gait training, simple functional weight bearing exercises. Now, we definitely have those high performers. Some of you listen to this podcast, and you may be the ones, let's be honest, who are doing too much. And if you haven't realized it, when you don't adjust your caloric intake based off of what you're doing, you end up putting yourself in a severe calorie deficit you didn't even mean to do, and you're actually breaking down instead of building up. So if you're one of these high intense performers, sometimes shorter, smarter sessions when you focus on recovery will help you avoid that burnout and that increased risk for injury. Now, when we're thinking overall picture here, remember, we're talking about longevity fitness today. You want to adapt the principle of strength, cardio, and mobility to your unique stage of life. I know that Gina in her 20s was so focused on how I looked, how thin I was, that now that I'm in my 30s, I am focused solely on being healthier, active, and having stamina to get through these 12, 14, 16-hour work days. There is an empowerment angle to all of this. Hello, this is called Mindset, Health, and Empowerment. And if you really think about it, fitness is freedom. Training for function equals training for independence. Imagine being able to carry your luggage in your 70s, hiking in your 60s, or even just getting easily off the floor in their 80s. It breaks my heart how many patients I see who end up in these long-term care facilities from one fall. All it took was one fall to take away their independence. Studies link physical independence with a higher quality of life and reduced healthcare costs. Y'all, think about it. I don't know if you follow me on social media. It's Gina Marie Fit across the board, but I obviously have been going through health issues. I've talked about them on previous episodes, and the bills have started to roll in. Thankfully, they're those estimation of benefit bills where you see the insane cost that your insurance is being billed, and then you get what your portion is owed. I am in my 30s. I am a fairly healthy individual, minus this progressive GI condition I have. And just in these last 6 months of getting sick, have I acquired $29,000 in medical bills. Thankfully, insurance is covering the majority of that. But when you think about it, the older you get, the more complicated your health gets. The more complicated, the higher risk for falls. The higher risk for falls, the more admittance to the hospital. And every single time you go again, it gets longer. And most people end up having extensive rehab stays that are hella expensive. So think about it. Strong, mobile bodies allow you to keep saying yes to life instead of life telling you how you're going to have to live. Now, fitness is self-respect, honestly, when you think about it. Exercise is not punishment for eating, and if you followed me for any length of time, I hope you realize that, which is why when I work with clients online, we have like a come to Jesus conversation about nutrition, because far often than not, if you are withholding your body from enjoying yourself and you're restricting yourself so much, eventually you're going to break and you will resent the entire process. So remember that exercise is a deposit in your future health bank, and it's not meant to prevent you from doing things or enjoying things you want to eat. Each workout session should feel like you are voting for your future independence, your future vitality, and your future energy. Movement really is a daily affirmation that reminds you that you're telling your body that I am worthy of showing up for myself. And this mindset can help you reframe workouts from obligation to empowerment. Now, I am very big on alignment. Last week's episode talked all about quiet quitting and conscious living and how I am now living in significantly more alignment than I used to. Aligned action that you literally can take this week is just adding in something as simple as a farmer's carry. Do it 3 times for 30 seconds. If you want to learn about mobility, do 5 minutes of morning spine and hip openers. If you're somebody that needs to implement more cardio, just do a 30-minute walk or cycle and just start to work towards that goal. Small daily actions add up to massive long-term dividends, and it doesn't have to always feel like an all or nothing application. I know that I was really beating myself up when I got cleared to start working out after my TBI, and within just 6 weeks of that, I had one of these exacerbations of my condition, for lack of a better term, and I got sick and I haven't been able to do much. And so now I'm getting 2 workouts in a week, and I've had to reframe my brain to feeling lazy and feeling like I'm not doing enough, to being grateful that 2 years ago I could barely stand up or hold my head up without being in excruciating pain. And sometimes we just have to change the way we see ourselves in our situation. So here's the truth, y'all. Your body is the only place you get to live for the rest of your life. Functional fitness, mobility, strength, and zone 2 cardio, they're not just workouts, they're investments in your freedom, your independence, and your ability to keep saying yes to life no matter your age. You don't need to train to impress anyone else. You need to train so you keep showing up fully, powerfully, and unapologetically like the badass that we know you are. If this episode maybe lit a little fire under your butt, do me a favor. Support your girl. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a dose of a little real talk and empowerment here at Mindset, Health, and Empowerment, the Unfiltered Trainer podcast. And if you loved what you heard today, please drop me a 5-star review. That's how we keep spreading this message to more people who are ready to stop hustling for aesthetics and start training for life. Remember, strength is freedom, mobility is resilience, and you are capable of more than you ever thought possible. Until next time, keep moving with purpose, because this is your one body, your one life, and you deserve to live it fully.